하나생명이 첫 번째 경기와는 완벽하게 달라진 모습으로 KT를 잡아냈습니다. 그야말로 대단했는데요. 빗돌림 어떻게 보셨나요?
네. 사실 최근에 캐스파컵에서 하나생명이 아무래도 좀 아쉬운 모습을 보여줬다 보니까는 1세트처럼 그 분위기가 이어지는 게 아닌가 팬분들도 걱정했을 때 진짜 180도 달라서 저희 깜짝 놀랐어요. 경기
다른 팀인 줄 알았어요.
네, 저도 똑같은 생각이에요. 첫 경기만으로는 모든 걸 평가하면 안 된다. 확실히 처음에 그렇게 어떻게 보면 좀 많이 맞았잖아요. 근데 그것을 완벽하게 더 강하게 받아치겠다. 이걸 제대로 보여준 하나 팀이었습니다.
네, 경기 초반부터 보노 선수의 올라프가 상당히 공격적이었습니다. 어떤 상황이 있었죠?
네, 거기에 이제 준비된 좀 설계에 대해서도 여러분께 한 번 더 설명을 해드리면 좋을 것 같아서 그걸 준비를 했는데요. 우르곳이 1레벨의 또 최강자인 이유가 있습니다. 팀 플레이에 있어서. 우르곳은 W 스킬 심판의원을 가동을 시켰을 때 와드를 바로 지울 수가 있어서 저 위치를 잡는 게 굉장히 좋은데 방금 저렇게 세전이 와드를 박는 걸 봤기 때문에 과감하게 카정까지 들어가는 설계를 할 수가 있었어요. 하나는.
그래서 레드 먹고 또 아래까지 바로 달려가서 강타를 쓰게끔 유도를 하죠.
여기서 라인을 먹어야 되니까 이제 스맥 선수도 빠질 수밖에 없었고 이 레드를 마무리하는 과정에서 뭐 올라프가 강타를 언제 썼는지 이런 정보가 없으니까는 스코어 선수도 좀 놀라가지고 칼라브리 강타를 쓸 수밖에 없었거든요. 그러다 보니까는 그 뒤에 마주쳤을 때도 서로 강타콜이 돌아오지 않았고 계속해서 보노가 스코어를 압박할 수 있는 근거가 된 것 같습니다.
그렇죠. 그리고 계속해서 카운터 정글 들어가면서 결국에 보시면 이제 미드 조이도 그랬고 11호도 그랬고 계속해서 CS 차이가 났었거든요. 그런 것들이 야금야금 쌓여서 스노우볼을 처음부터 끝까지 한 번도 놓지 않았어요. 그게 정말 한화팀의 대단한 점이라고 볼 수 있을 것 같아요.
올라프로 저런 운영하는 게 원래 어렵기 때문에 올라프 픽에 대해서 보통 팬분들도 많이 좀 불안해하시는 감이 있는데 진짜 완벽한 운영을 처음부터 보여줬습니다.
맞아요. 픽할 때 올라프 이런 소리가 나오기도 했거든요. 자, 다음 장면은 첫 바론이 나왔을 때 운영 상황입니다.
네, 바론이 나왔을 때 본인들이 이미 골드 우위가 있어서 바론을 뭐 트라이 볼 수도 있었지만은 지금 보시는 것처럼 상대가 미드라인을 밀러 나가는 타이밍에 탐켄치를 활용해서 뒤에서 잡아먹는 플레이를 하나가 보여줬습니다. 이 직전에는 탑라인을 일부러 밀어서 사이온을 탑라인을 먹게 만들어 놓기도 했었고요.
이게 한화팀 입장에서는 사이온 탑에 있고 4대5다. 그리고 11호 특성상 결국에 시간을 끌어주는 팀을 위해서 시간을 끌어주려면 앞에 나가서 계속 미니언을 밀어줘야 하거든요.
맞아요.
이게 11호가 굉장히 잘할 수 있는 플레이예요. 그 플레이를 잘 알고 있었던 한화가 정확하게 끊어먹었죠.
그렇죠. 저런 것도 사실은 조금 막 흔들리는 상황이라면은 바론의 욕심이 나서 우리 좀 유리하니까 바론 일단 쳐보자라는 플레이했다가 거기서 게임이 막 뒤집어지고 이럴 수가 있는데 바론을 선택을 하는 게 아니라 확실하게 본인들의 조합 장점을 활용하는 하나의 운영까지 진짜 다 맞아 떨어지는 것 같아서 진짜 깜짝 놀랐습니다. 방금
네, 그야말로 뭐 지적할 게 없는 완벽한 경기였습니다. 이번 경기 MVP는 누가 될지 정말 기대되는데요. 화면으로 만나보시죠.
네, 보노. 솔랭폰과 선수의 실력이 과연 이게 맞아떨어지는 게 있냐 없냐에 대해서는 뭐 끊임없이 좀 의견이 분분하기는 한데 본인의 그런 어떤 가치를 올라프라는 어려운 챔피언을 통해서 제대로 보여준 것 같습니다.
이 장면뿐만 아니라 또 초반 계속해서 카운터 정글 가는 모습 그것도 좋았고 또 저는 숨은 MVP는 전 탐켄치라고도 생각을 해요.
키 선수.
네, 키 선수. 결국에 1경기 때 분명 역전각 나올만 한데 뭐 자크 이렇게 점프하는데 다 막았던 게 탐켄치였거든요. 그래서 상대 안정감을 뺏어오고 우리가 안정감을 더해가자. 그러니까 팀이 이렇게 확 살아나는 모습까지 보여줬습니다.
결국 MVP를 보노가 받았지만은 보노가 초반에 그런 걸 만들어주고 탑 미드 라이너들이 주도권을 잡고 플레이를 잘해주고 바텀이 중후반 운영에 힘을 실어주는 진짜 완벽한 경기를 보여줘서 진짜 하나생명이 1세트와는 완전히 다른 하나부터 10까지 다른 경기라고 저는 보여준 것 같아요.
네, 알겠습니다. 자, 세 번째 경기가 어떻게 흘러갈지 더욱 기대가 되는데요. 중계석 다시 연결할게요.
Well, Bono picking up the MVP certainly makes sense to me, but not necessarily because of how he played that game, but from how he resetted his mental coming out of a horrific game one and turning it all around and being completely aggressive. In the matchup he should be, but still being able to overcome that was just beautiful.
And I think a really succinct tweet from Spawn, he put out the previous LPL caster, now OPL caster, owner of Order, friend of ours extraordinaire. Is this is definitely the sort of series where best of 3 is shining through, because if it was just game 1, KT's back and Hanwha Life, don't know about them. And then honestly, you reverse the nameplates and you get game number 2 where Hanwha Life were able with very little changes to make us now have much more belief in them and a lot more questions for KT Rolster. So I'm ready for the rubber match. I need this final best of 1 to make it a full series. The draft adjustments from KT, I think, out with the Sivir Sejuani, in with a bit more respect for the early game, because Hanwha Life largely piloting the early game better is what won them in the end a pretty comfortable game 2.
Yeah, and I also I like the Sivir with the Tahm Kench, right? But against the Tahm Kench, it didn't necessarily work out, because then you've got Sungin with all of that control, and having this Sivir that is able to actually fight in a team fight after all of those first cooldowns have gone down, that looked great in game 1. Looked like something that Hanwha had no way of dealing with. Maybe Tahm Kench has to be the ban here. Maybe Tahm Kench is going to be the linchpin for the bottom lane.
Really interesting to see where you make the adjustment, because you can't throw out your drafts. I think they were still good in KT's draft in game 1 and game 2, but you have to now show them more respect. The Sejuani and the Sivir together meant too much passivity in the early game that was much better engineered to aggression from the side of Hanwha Live. So again, it's always a very close game. You can really only change one name in the ban, otherwise other things will crop up and make all your previous information worthless. So good luck to the coaching staff of both KT Rolster and Hanwha Life in game number 3.
And good luck to the mental fortitude of KT Rolster as well, a team that we've often had question marks about that in the past, but this is a new look KT Rolster apart from the jungle and top lane, unless they're going to sub Umti back in, but probably not going to be the case here. KT looking for that 2-1 victory. Inconsistency has been something that's plagued KT Rolster for eons. It feels like it's almost synonymous with this team, but strong early game also is, and that was not apparent in game number 2.
The most endearing and also long-lasting meme is don't get excited about KT. They are the LCK Summer Champions, the reigning champions, and yet with the roster changes, I think maybe I was off the hype train in terms of the fact that I was like, you can get excited about KT. They're the big favorites for Worlds. That part didn't go to plan. And now with the roster changes, there is still some doubt. Maybe you shouldn't get excited about KT Rolster in spring of 2019. And Hanwha Life, another good draft and early game away from upsetting the KT defense in just the first best of 3 they play.
Yeah, and maybe actually finally, we've got the fans, given the fans a reason to miss Deft and Martyr on the bottom side of the map, because they were so strong. Even in the games they didn't necessarily look good in, the laning phase for Deft and Martyr was always something that you could generally look at. I mean, take, Jin face checks out of the equation maybe for us, but especially last season looked absolutely phenomenal. And now Zenit and Snowflower been shown up in game number 2, but were great in game number 1. Can they shore it up here to get KT Rolster a victory for game number 3? We'll have to find out. Picks and Bans will be here very, very soon. As you can see, Score still in that chair. It's a squad that so many people believed in at Worlds. Didn't quite deliver for us. Now trying to rebuild, new roster. Smeb and Score still there, but is that enough veterancy to help get this team off the mark? BDD, a fantastic addition to this roster as well.
For certain, and you just can't overcome the draft they laid out and also the smart early moves by Hanwha Life. Doesn't matter what the nameplates say, they just didn't have the tools in order to fight back. It was very much guns against spears, and the guns worked out for Hanwha Life. So now we want to see kind of parity on both sides when it comes to early game, and then may just the best team win from there.
Yeah, exactly right. Maybe if things are a little bit more even, we'll have more of an idea of who deserves to take away the trophy, or at least the victory for game number 1. Picks and Bans are going to be here now, and this is where a lot of our questions are going to be answered. What are these first bans going to be? What is going to be the adaptation? Because in game number 1, when the sides were the same, it was Akali Aurelia Lucian for KT, and Aatrox Cassiopeia Rakan from Hanwha Life.
To me, I don't think KT need to target any bans differently. I think it's just about their own picks and their own identity in this game number 3. A new look bot lane is what I've been praying for, and we'll wait to see what happens there. Aurelia going to be banned out. So far the same on both sides. See if Hanwha Life wants to make an adjustment. As for now, we'll just rinse and repeat from game number 1.
Yeah, it feels like the standard red side bans coming in here, as Aatrox and Cassiopeia have been banned on red for both teams. Lucian going to be the final ban, so things are absolutely the same, but will the Rakan receive the same amount of respect?
I don't think it's necessary. I wouldn't mind Hanwha Life moving away from it, because while Snowflower had some great individual moments, again, it felt like Rakan engaging while the rest of the team, you can't kind of pick up the slack with Rakan. If the rest of your team's behind, Rakan engages and dies, because he's so squishy in the front line. So the got removed, and now a flex pick does make it through, but it's the flex pick Galio that we only learned about in game number 1. No surprise for Sion to be taken instantly. Is this just a best-of-3 meta between KT and Hanwha Life, or will we see first pick Sion on the red side every time? Remains to be seen.
Well, the Lissandra is going to be picked up, so both solo laners already locked in here from Hanwha Life. So Lava back on the Lissandra, and he looked great against BDD in game number 1, but now his blind picked it into him. Last time, it was the final pick for Hanwha Life.
And while I understand that statement and I completely endorse it, I need to pay lip service to the fact that in solo queue, a lot of supports are playing Lissandra. So there is the outside chance of support Lissandra. We'll talk more about it in future games when we finally get it locked in, but does look like Hanwha Life have gone for the tried and true SKT approach. It may not quite be the Urgot Lissandra, but Sion Lissandra, very reliable, safe solo lanes.
Yep. Also key being the Bard main. I mean, that meeped up auto attack, very similar to a Lissandra queue.
Do you just go Xayah Rakan Galio first round? It's something that I called for in the previous game, you'll remember, was Xayah Rakan, and they went for Sivir, and that punished them. I'm happy that KT may not have been listening to the global broadcast, but have cribbed the same notes of, we tried to be too fancy with this Sivir win condition. Let's just get Xayah Rakan, and Galio first pick into Xayah Rakan has been there for over a year. It does what it says on the tin. Very good backup for the Rakan engage, reliable duo laning phase, and the Rakan can push up more aggressively because you have the extra range on the Battle Dance.
Yes, all the other extra synergies that you do have as well, with some more attack power augmented by the W. So the Tahm Kench does get into the hands of Key, and that could be a big deal. Wondering whether or not that would be taken away, but it is Hanwha Life that are able to get it, but against a more formidable duo lane and no Ezreal to be seen this time yet.
And that's the part I want to mention, Atlas, is there was a cost to Hanwha Life grabbing 2 reliable solo laners. Now with the Tahm Kench, we know there's going to be a solo lane Lissandra. The cost, of course, is they can't necessarily get Ezreal Tahm Kench. That's why they had to choose one. Like yesterday when we had the same scenario, we definitely rubber stamp. Take the Tahm Kench, give up the Ezreal. There are lots of other options you can take into the bot lane, whether they are traditional AD carries or the awesome dudes that littered LCK Summer. The Ezreal removed. We'll see what Songyun's extended bench is. Still waiting on that first Vayne, Hail of Blades Vayne, a fun one. Something we could see in our second series of the day.
Certainly, because Viper has been a guy that's been playing it a lot, but maybe we'll see it this game. Rai's going to be the second ban here for Hanwha Life Esports, focusing on these flex picks available for KT Rolster. I like it. Now what's the final ban to come in here from KT? What do they want to get rid of?
Jungle or AD carry, I think, is probably going to be the ban here. I mean, it's 2 roles, so it's not a prophecy, and they will go for jungle. I actually don't mind moving away from a second AD carry ban, because there's a lot of things that sort of work into Xayah Rakan, but nothing that was really screaming out as a must ban. Ban away the Olaf, take a bit of pressure off of Bono. If Songyun locks in Kalista, I'm going to be so excited because he is a legacy, fantastic Kalista player, one of the best in Korea. Wow. Bang's gone. We will not see the Kalista this time, but it's another oldie. Good thing I shouted out Prey and Bang recently, but it's going to be the Ashe coming through here for another engage option. Does that mean KT just load in some more tanks, or will this Ashe have some squishies to potentially pick?
Potentially. There are at least 2 champions that are going to be squishy, already locked in this game, as Score thinking about the Xin Zhao.
Is a blind pick. 5th pick, red side jungle once again for Bono this time. We'll see if he can pay it off. Remember, the MVPs this series have been traded between the junglers so far. Xin Zhao Camille's not quite, so Xin Zhao Galio not quite the Camille Galio, but a similar flavor when it comes to reliable engage. Final pick here should probably be a solo laner. What will KT decide to choose? Could still be the Galio top, but it's going to be Smeb's Rumble. A blast from the past. We finally see a Rumble, and Smeb is the god tier 1 left in Korea.
If we're going to see a first Rumble of 2019, I'd want it to be Smeb absolutely every time, as, the Jarvan was hovered, wondering whether or not that was a potential counter pick for the top lane, but that's going to be Lee Sin. Bono, gauntlet's been thrown. Lee versus the Xin Zhao. This is a difficult matchup for the Lee, who wants to get to the level 6 mark, and if anyone meets Xin in the jungle, you're probably going to need to run away.
One of the few times we will see a Rumble locked in when neither solo laner has immense kill pressure on Rumble as the game goes on. Rumble's issue usually is lane phase gets really hard after about level 10 because Rumble more about that team fighting. A lot of other laners can do both a little bit more aptly than the Yordle can, but instead, we will see Rumble with the sort of lane where he can farm it out and multiple people will have to rotate through to kill him. So this could be one of the few times that Smeb can unleash the Rumble and feel good about it, and we as viewers are treated to it on the first day of KT Rolster's defense of the LCK. Gives them some great teamfight wombo, but the reliability of KT's comp isn't as high as some of the recent Galio comps we've seen.
And the reliability of the pick CC coming in for Hanwha Life Esports is certainly there. Absolutely prevalent across so many of their champions as well, and if Bono can get run of this game, he will be able to provide so many different champions for the rest of his team to just gobble up and keep moving on forward with. And I feel like the tone has certainly changed for this series. Hanwha Life have earned the respect of us, the viewers, because it was a great Game 2 performance, and they have momentum now moving in to this Game number 3, this deciding match. But the changes that KT Rolster have made certainly do, to me, look very, very good as far as what made them strong in Game number 1, and that was damage and priority in the early game. And a Xin Zhao going to be better than a Sejuani in that front.
And I echo your sentiment, because this is now a really exciting best of 1 for all the marbles here. A little whisper there from Hanwha Life at the end of that. Finally get that Hanwha Life fighting at the end. The reason why I echo your sentiment is Game 1 happened, I'm like, all right, it's the victory lap for KT. Coming back, returning the cup, and feeling so good.
That's what we've been used to in 2019.
Exactly, and being that sentiment of returning champions coming in for a victory lap, a first look, a glimpse. But now it's a real series. We get a first glimpse of a visual bug. In Game number 3, they listened to us. No more Sivir Rakan mishmashes in the bot lane. The Xayah Rakan there now to power it up. Score has gone for something that worked for Malrong in the initial ganks yesterday against SKT. Hail of Blades, first sighting for our second day of the LCK. Does mean that the moment you got that red smite, the damage calculation can be pretty bonkers, because you get about 7 autos off before the enemy can blink.
Oh, and the classic Scion Cheese to come down to the bottom side of the map. Haven't seen this one for a few games, but Tal going to get in there, look for that decimating smash in the opening, and then teleport up towards
there was
the
a
top side
blue ping onto the forwardmost brush, so Zenit and Snowflower know something could be up.
Snowflower is going to get knocked up. Volley's going to land there as well. Has to grand entrance to get himself out. Means that he couldn't take any other buttons, but shout-outs to not skilling anything up until you get into lane.
And that does mean he can't interrupt the teleport, which was very bold. In that particular moment coming through. Now, why do this, you might ask? Obviously, the cheese kill is what you're looking for, but how about some free lane control on Xayah Rakan as Ash Tom Kench? That's what they've gotten through that early play. Sion's teleport will come up in a few minutes, but unlikely to be punished by a Rumble in the 1v1 or even Xin Zhao that early in the 2v2. Sion can just play around it, so you'd have to say that's actually pretty heads up, and the benefit it gives Sungyun and Key is they can flex their muscles on Snowflower and Zenit, who will be perennially on the back foot, at least for the first few minutes of this lane.
I also think that Ash benefits even more from that as well, just as a champion, because she does control momentum very, very well if she can get it initially. The volley is just so great on an open lane if you can get the wave pushing. Certainly was able to do so very early on there with the help of Tal.
And you feel like a buddy system's now been enacted, because you're right, Sungyun is the biggest benefactor. He's like, yes, got level 2. First, I got lane control. Then he throws out a hawk shot, and the enemy jungler is going to be sighted, or at least his path on what camps have been cleared will help out Bono as well. So they're playing it forward in a way that bodes very good for Hanwha Life. And again, loving the best of 3, because so much has changed in this series over the past hour.
Yep. Scott is going to be able to get both of his buffs so far this game. Has to walk back in to give that Sentinel another nudge, but we'll be able to take a Rift Scuttler as well. They're trading them between the junglers. Very even start this time, as you would expect, with Xin versus Lee rather than the Sejuani versus Olaf.
And Lissandra going for teleport may be standard in terms of team comp, but against Galio Xin Zhao, real chance that your glacial path gets interrupted and you're taken down. So that's something you have to watch for in this game. Galio Xin's one of the highest presence, highest pressure duos for ganking mid lane. Could still happen here, but Bono's here for the counter gank, and we're going to see 2v2.
Yep, Score moving on in here as well, as they do manage to get the Justice Punch. Oh, he's taunted! Can't take the Claw out as Winds of War are flashed quite nicely. It's not enough, though. First Blood going over to Score feels much more like Game 1 rather than Game 2.
Right on time, what I'm talking about comes to pass, and smartly BDD channels the taunt till after he knew that the CC duration would overlap with the glacial path running out, so there was no chance for an exit. Watch the replay here. They go and watch the taunt here. waits till the back end of the glacial path to guarantee there'll be no chance to get away scot-free. Flash's not going to be enough. Hail of Blades does the rest. Nice gank timing by Score, and already a big change from the Sejuani on the back foot of game number 2.
That couldn't be more perfect as well with the lining up of that white CC bar that we were talking about yesterday. Man, very, very nicely done from the duo of BDD and Score.
Between CC bars and bounty bars, we've been talking about bars a lot. We need some
Yeah,
extra
we have.
sponsorships on the LCK English stream.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
Cadbury, get in touch with us.
I don't think, is Cadbury Bounty Bars? I thought they were the other brand.
You know what? I'll take my chocolate sponsors where I can get them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anyway, bottom side of the map. Feels like things still going well for Hanwha Life.
An extension of level 1.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
it cost a teleport, which is not a trivial thing, but the teleport has gotten them a meaningful lead around the bot side, so that part is good news. Smeb is being the master yodel he can be, but predictably, it's around level 5, so here's a jungler.
Yep, Bono's going to turn up. Does have himself the scrap shield, so going to keep himself alive a little bit longer. Flash being held onto for a very long time as he has to get out of the way of this next Q. Does it nicely to save himself, but it's still Flash on cooldown.
You can take Marin out of the LCK, and apparently you can take a Marin tendency away, because no death comes out at 5 minutes for the Rumble player. In case you guys don't remember the last Rumble meta, they always die around level 4 or 5,
Yep.
overextending with the Q running. Smeb is going to live this time. Smart use of the flash there. Does mean he's going to be much more conspicuous in lane for the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, if you're a 2015 LPL fan, you are certainly privy to a lot of these overextending Rumbles. Marin was very, very good at it when he was on LGD. Zed and Snowflower now with a little bit more control of this lane. Understanding that Hanwha Life Esports jungler was up towards the top lane. Score's position had not been given away as Lava taking some Winds of War damage, but not the initial tick, which is the bad boy.
Might reveal that it's very likely for Score to be topside or around the mid lane. Trying this again.
Yeah, has himself another taunt, but oh, there's the Justice Punch! Actually able to stop Lava from taking the claw. Uses his ultimate on himself to keep himself alive, but there's the big damage from the Winds of War, and KT do it again in the mid lane.
And that was one of those times where you knew the kill would come in, even though the self-ult was available, because Xin Zhao sees Lee Sin and says, I don't care, I got Hail of Blades, baby. Speaking of what they've got, the Rumble ult is available here.
Yeah, Bono could be given the red carpet, but Smeb decides to say no, and BDD will just take that turret plate. First one is going to be taken down. Score decided, give him a bit of a tap there in the mid lane, greeting for another one of these plates, but not going to have enough minions. Very, very close to getting that 320 gold to start this laning phase off very nicely for BDD. Already 1-0-1 alongside his jungler. Will have even more gold after this grand entrance onto Key. Zenit doing a lot of damage, does have the extra attack speed now, has to eat the grey health. He's going to be able to use that shield to get through the ignite, but now looking to try and find a way back.
Any relevant health leads you can get were already shown in game number 1 to be oh so important. But watch the replay here. Again, a lot of people would think that the most you can get out of this gank after it starts is just the self-ult and Lissandra will be fine. But Bono can't actually achieve anything here. He's level 5 Lee Sin. It's Hail of Blades, Red Smite Xin. He gives no mundos about a Lee Sin being around. They will always finish off the kill, and that means Lissandra's already gone down twice in a Galio matchup.
And Score now has his Warrior Chant completed as well. So the Hail of Blades is going to be hurting that much more. Coming out of this, Xin Zhao, as he treks his way around the jungle once again. Has to do with Key making a little bit of an invade. We'll be able to pick up a cheeky ward to make sure that Xin doesn't make his way down towards the bottom side of the map, because this Demacian gets down there, it's going to be hell to pay for the Hanwha Life Esports bottom lane.
In case you guys are wondering why we were so hyped about Smeb's Rumble, if you're a newer viewer and haven't seen so much Rumble in the past year, most played by a landslide, 71 career games in the LCK International events. As here we go.
Yeah, there's the kickback, but I don't know whether Bono wanted that one. Had to flash out of the way of the Justice Punch, and now Lava tries his hand. It's a beautiful knockback, though, with the ultimate from Score, and Tal gets his way in there. Third time's the charm as they take down the Gargoyle. A sidestep from Score saves him from the arrow, but Hanwha Life, there is still life in this team.
One outplay from Score with the ult, but there's so many things flown from downtown. A Scion Speedway and a large glacial arrow come through, and they get the single kill. They need an objective, though. A lot of ults were used, a lot of time was wasted to make this play. They're onto the Drake, no equalizer in range. This should be picked up by Hanwha Life.
Yeah, Scored. He was standing on the blast cone, but decides not to take it over for the Ocean Drake. Decides in the end that he will. Just clear out this control ward, knowing that everybody else had exited the area. Bono relatively low on health.
Speaking of health, though, Hanwha Live have a lot of health stackers. I wonder how early the Leandris will be from the side of KT. Usually Rumbles just go for double pan and end up with a Morellonomicon, but this feels like a Leandri special on the side of KT.
So good on Rumble, just in general. You can reliably land your cocoons, sorry, your harpoons. Gonna have a replay now. See exactly what went wrong. There were so many buttons pressed. Looked like it wasn't going to work, and then it did.
This play from Score is sick. Actually getting Lava disengaged, but then Scion flies by. A huge arrow flies by. That's the backup that Ash and also the Scion can provide. So nice stuff there from the side of Hanwha Life. They get the 1 kill. They get the Drake. That means that we have a bit of a trade in the early game. A 600 gold lead for KT and Hanwha Life, showing there's still life in that team.
And also just demonstrates what Hanwha Life's composition can do, because it felt like there were multiple tests there for Score. There was like the first ultimate comes in, deals with it. Second ultimate comes in, deals with it. Third one, oh no, that's the one I can't deal with. Fourth one, he managed to come out with fine, but there's just so many buttons that Hanwha Life Esports have that they can start these fights with. See whether that's going to help out as this game progresses, because if Smeb's in one of these fights, the equalizer will provide a no-go zone that could put KT in a better position to answer.
And for full disclosure, I am definitely a biased caster of this game. I am a huge fan of Rumble the Champion and Smeb's Rumble. His equalizer placement has always been the big thing. Again, 38 more career games on Rumble than anyone else, a 64% win rate in 71 pro games in one of the toughest leagues in the world is definitely a good sign for him. He has a CS lead, but notice, no damage items yet, so that first equalizer is only going to have base damage.
Yeah, and you're talking about Rumble as well. To add even extra context, we had some incredible Rumble players throughout the entire world, so it's not like Smeb was the guy that played Rumble. No. You were either a Rumble player or you weren't, and we had so many.
Smeb and Marin, baby. Those are probably the 2 best of all time. So no Marin in Korea yet. Actually, he's probably in Korea streaming, but not in the pro scene.
We were calling for him at the end of last year.
I'm calling for what the first item is here. Is Smeb going to go Leandris or Morellonomicon? Those seem like the 2 big options here. It will be the Leandris I wanted to see, so remember, no magic pen there, just about that extra damage for now. But Leandris, with all the tanks we've seen today, makes a whole lot of sense.
Also just synergizes so nicely, especially up against a Scion as well. He's going to be stacking all that health like you were talking about, so bit of a no-brainer. I think it's a perfect choice. We'll be going for Leandri's, Raleigh something potentially, or Azonya's to come in as item number 2.
Especially wouldn't have liked going for Ninja Tabi and not double magic pen. This is deep teleport. Here's Scion.
Yeah, Arrow is going to come down as well. Here's the combo once again. Bono is going to get in there and takes down the 80 carry so incredibly quickly. Hero's entrance is like jumping into hell here for BDD. They've got the equalizer, but is it too late? His Score is trying to meander his way out, but Key is jumping on him. One more and he'll be able to get the gobble underneath the turret. Just licks him to death. And Hanwha Life Esports, a beautiful team fight, a beautiful engage, and they'll be now 6-2 in kills after it's all said and done.
A clean ace onto KT Rolster at 12 minutes, Atlas. Massive momentum shift here from Hanwha Life, and one by one the dominoes fell. The Frozen Thralls came up from death. That Lissandra passive is new in 2019, and they wiped the floor with KT.
We're going to see it again, Papa, and take us through everything working this time. There was no dodging of any of these ults.
We love talking about that white CC bar. It's above the Zaya's head. She can never use an ability, dies from full in the Wombo, and then the moment Lissandra gets there, there's no escape path because the Frozen Thralls come in. Smeb thinks he can back up, but this is a defensive Rumble ult only going on to Smeb, and they can chase to their heart's content. What a play by Hanwha Life.
Absolutely amazing. Sangyun there as well, free hitting the entire time, and like we were talking about, Key just able to use that grey health to such great effect, but also keep Score completely out of it.
Big moment from Tal, feeling so good about his new team that he's on. SKT escaped with a victory yesterday. Hanwha Life, surprisingly, could do his old telecom team a favor and take down KT. Look at how the damage is so equivalent. Almost the same from Lissandra and Ash. Scion, because he's involved for so long, got maximum value. Damage from his ult was actually a factor in that fight. The gold lead is now open up. It's not a game-winning one, but the momentum now. Remember, these comms between KT are 5 newer players together rather than just the old heads of 2017 and 2018. There's a lot to think about for KT Rolster.
Oh, yeah. And that is relatively easy to replicate as well. I mean, Hanwha Life Esports just wait for these R buttons to be available once again. They rinse, they repeat, they go back in and they punish KT for any sort of positional error. And KT have a comp that wants to go forward, a comp that wants to engage on them. And Hanwha Life is starting to feel like, well, okay, do that, and we'll just answer back and take you down.
KT Rolster's super team is no more, and KT still have some legendary names on their team, but name power this year, Atlas, feels more irrelevant than ever before. There's so much new talent coming in, Damwon and Griffin, that just because you were a god 2 years ago doesn't mean you'll be a god in 2019. So much this year is up in the air, and Hanwha Life made the least inspiring on-paper roster choices of players that couldn't actually impress in other regions. Mugen the closest to being impressive in other regions, and he's not even playing so far in the Kesper Cup or in this tournament. Instead, it's about how you play on the day, and KT have made some mistakes, and Hanwha Life gripping this best of 3 with 2 hands and looking impressive doing it.
Looking like they wanted a little bit more as well. I mean, it feels like they have rallied. They've decided that Game 1 is an illusion. LCK fans certainly should not be getting that one anymore. They've decided to grab their second dragon of the game as well. Will be another Ocean Drake, unfortunately, here for Hanwha, but they will have a lot of regen. Keep them in these lanes even longer.
Leandri's done for Rumble, but are we one team fight wipe away from KT being too far behind in this particular game? We already mentioned that Rumble will not be as at risk inside lanes, but really needs a Void Staff to have even lane control over the Scion.
The Scion that's got a lot of null magic mantles worth of magic resist so far.
And a lot of reason to keep building them because Ashe is out trading the Xayah for now. Xayah's 3 items are 12 to 15 minutes away. Magic resist stacking into armor later is the luxury that's provided by how this early game's gone for Hanwha Life. We zoom out a little bit to know that everyone is lying in wait here, but a solo kill onto BDD probably not going to be a way for Hanwha Life to move forward.
Yeah, this top river is somewhere that at least Smeb can have a little bit more control in. Equalizer back off cooldown, so Bono not going to be able to freely take down this Rift Scuttler and is actually just going to get his way out. Safeguard now on cooldown. So many control wards in this area. Seems like just the power of Hanwha Life Esports needs to be respected as... Okay, that was taken by Mono somehow. Did he even use the smite? Nope. Just kicked it.
And BDD watching on, you think, oh, what about the flash here? But they just have no map control to make a proactive move from the Galio. They still lose out on the Scuttle Crab. Still another good micro win for the side of Hanwha Life, as maybe we have to lock and load for the Infernal Drake being the one place that KT can stop waving the white flag and find a way to get a meaningful lead in this game.
And there we are once again, back to the old Rumble facts of get a fight around a Dragon Pit, and generally that Equalizer is going to find a decent place to go. Is it going to work this game? Is that context going to be the same?
You can see what it would look like if it happened, but I'm always a bit down on wombo combos in 2019. Players are so good at respecting what-ifs. It's no longer, wow, that player played around a flash hook. You're expected to play around flash hooks. You're expected to not walk into wombo. Wait to see if KT can pull off a dream move. The dive comes in. No turret obtained just yet, but right now, it's not shown in any meaningful stat. We're not at a 5,000 gold lead, but it already feels like this game is slipping away from KT.
And having an ace in the early game, that early as well for Hanwha Life Esports, it's actually almost incredible that KT have been able to keep things, oh my goodness, Zenit very quick. On that button press, keeps himself alive with the Featherstorm. I'm just saying that the gold is not necessarily insurmountable at this point. If we remember back, when we were broaching the 20-minute mark, Hanwha Life in Game 2 were so far ahead. And it looked like KT didn't have options to get their way back in this time. Score not on the Sejuani getting bullied around. He is now on the Xin and has 100% kill contribution here for KT Rolster. Could still get some work done.
And they could still exist, Alex. That's what I'm trying to say is the what-ifs of what team fights look like. I always try to gauge a game on how close it is with, all right, if I watch this, is there a way for them to press their buttons and win? Or maybe they're just too far behind and there's not. In this game, it can happen from KT, but it's kind of a 70-30 in terms of reliability at minimum for Hanwha Life. And they also, in the quiet moments when there's not AoE wombo going on, they've got first rotation, they've got map control, and you need to use Equalizer just to kill minion waves, otherwise further turrets are going to lead to the global lead extending for Hanwha Life.
Yeah, good answer there from Smeb, though, noticing that 2 members were moving up, but it does mean that Vision's cleared, and Vision is put down as well. It feels like there's a bit of a Christmas tree on the top side of the map here for KT Rolster. That diamond really making sure that Hanwha Life Esports have control up here, and Tal can freely push towards this turret. No more platings to grab, but will make a very big dent, and the control continues here for Hanwha Life.
And now, if I left the game, if some people are like, all right, I think KT's going to lose and leave right now, if you then went back to that person and said, no, KT won, the first question you say is, was it a Baron throw? Because the Baron is the one area where the Wombo is a lot more reliable from KT Atlas, and that's the spot where it feels like 19 minutes 40, if Hanwha Life are smart around the Baron, that to me is how they close this game. And the way back for KT is an inspired play around a Baron mistake by Hanwha Life.
So far, the inspiration has been not so good. Style takes down that first turret of the game. Continues to push that advantage further forward, and it's not necessarily the money from that first turret going down, but largely the gigantic amount of map control that Hanwha Life are demonstrating to us. What are the answers here as the vision does go down, score? The jig is up, my friend. Not going to be able to find any joy down here as far as the gank is concerned. He goes back to the drawing board, trying to figure out where he can impact this Hanwha Life Esports squad.
Equalizer coming up just as the Infernal Drake is there to be fought for. But remember, so much about Drakes is about prep, and the prep has been done by only one team, Hanwha Life. KT have to invade. It's 2 or 3 to start clearing what is 4 control wards that was placed around the Infernal. Hanwha Life, they damn want this Infernal.
Damn right they do. And there's minions getting shoved into the mid lane out of turret. It is extraordinarily low. They'll probably have to grab that one for themselves if this dance continues for much longer. Bono wants to pull this dragon out of the pit. He's going to get a little bit grumpy and at least turn his head to score, but it looks like Hanwha Life Esports should be able to get control and take the mid lane out of turret. Cake and eat it too is the situation here for Hanwha. A beautiful performance so far. After what was some good ganks for score in the early stages of the game, they still want to try and fight for this. Half the health bar is now on this Infernal Drake. Hero's Entrance is available. Equalizer is available. Score in there in range for a potential smite as we've got the fight into the backline. Good position of the Hero's Entrance. Breaks up. Hanwha Life Esports has beat it. Is causing a ruckus. That's going to be first kill going down. Sangyun going to be the first to fall. And now Hanwha have to get the hell out of there. KT miraculously managed to make a team fight that they were looking for.
They win Drake's Chicken. It's not quite the Baron, but they get an Inferno out of it. They outthink Hanwha Life, who were in 2 minds about whether to finish off the Drake or turn for the fight. KT were making the more clear shot calls. That gets them a meaningful objective, their first of the game, and also a bit of a map reset, a bit of tail between the legs defensive play from the side of Hanwha Life.
Yeah, let's have a look at exactly what went wrong here for Hanwha Life at the beginning of this fight.
This is towards the end. The Drake falls low, and look at what Hanwha Life, Lava and Bono do. They walk up, 1-0 on the enemy smite, and they say, oh, let's finish the Drake. Meanwhile, KT double down on taking down Ashe, on fighting away the backline, and then Bono and Lava are just in full defensive mode. That's because in the fight, KT's veterans there, you have to imagine Smeb and Score have the tighter calls, and Hanwha Life with Bono and Lava in particular, they're in 2 minds. 1 mind wins out on the side of KT.
Yeah, and you have to say, you know, we're talking about Smeb and Score and the fact that they do have that veterancy, but the communication between Snowflower and BDD on where to place that Hero's Entrance was just beautiful. Got him right into the back line and then zipped his way out again with that extended range battle dance, and meant that there was just a whole area of that river that Hanwha Life couldn't enter. And they want to have one of these pile-in type compositions. They want to follow up on all the AoE. You can't do that if you've been completely split by the big Galio ult into the back line. That's what KT's comp is capable of, and now we've got a team fight won by both teams. Probably a little bit more impressive by Hanwha Life earlier on with their ace, but this does mean we've got definitely a match on our hands.
And Hanwha Life fans will be happy to know Infernal Drake throw isn't a thing. Remember, we were talking about a potential Baron throw. Yeah. Yes, the Infernal Drake's more than KT deserved for a bit of a haphazard early game, but it's not enough to change the game state, which is still Hanwha Life in a gold lead. Ash Arrow does register.
He's going to land this time as Bono does get the kickback as well. Featherstorm comes down in the end. The flash has to be used as well, as this could be the fight that KT wants. In the end, he soaked the arrow, but it's Hanwha Life that look a little bit sheepish afterwards. Lava trying to change that thought process. Fully charged Q flashed out of there by Smeb. Winds of War also still lowering those health bars, but no one dead just yet.
And every 50-50 is a win to KT because they are the team behind in map control and behind in gold. The Equalizer controlled the choke so nobody goes down. Zenit has to use his summoners. There's something to return to for the side of Hanwha Life, but the downtown arrow ended up getting them both summoners.
Yeah, it was really nice stuff reminded me of Season 1, the potential teleport to come in behind, but not going to be any joy here for Hanwha Life Esports. It looked so close, and they did manage to get the Featherstorm and the Flash out of Zenit, so not going to be doing that anytime soon. Now, Voidstaff, like you were saying, looks like second item here for Smeb, so he's trying to get to a point where he can get into a side lane against one of these two solo laners and do some work.
But honestly, as a Rumble player, these duo of items tell you either my equalizer is on point or I lose the team fight. This is an equalizer build from the Rumble here. It's usually what you see from Rumble. It used to be Liandry's the old style with the Magic Pen into Voidstaff. It gives you some threat on a side lane tank, but not realistic kill threat on that tank. But it's all about the equalizer here from Smeb. Last couple have been pretty good, but the moment one's off point, you do very little. As the Rumble, he's been sitting on the Blasting Wand and the Amp Tome since the first fight about 6-7 minutes ago, so 1300 gold took a long time to crypt together. Let's see what he can make use of here. Again, KT do have the Wombo to set up such a play. Right now, they're more about trying to clear some control wards, as killing Smeb will be a happy moment for Hanwha Life.
Yeah, that certainly looks to be the priority, as we've got 4 members on the bottom side of the map. I think the Baron might be the call here from KT, so Hanwha, no secret, that is going to be the option.
But you're not worried about it. There's not enough Baron speed from KT Rolster. They're not realistically going to start that. Hanwha Life also.
Arrow, Snowflower, grand entrance is really nicely placed. To get out of the way is, okay.
Gap closed, it seems, from Tal. They're just trying to race forward to stop there being any plays around Baron. Wasn't 100% clear that Baron wasn't started by the side of KT. They know it now.
Yep, was on their minds as well, but like we saw, KT decided that they didn't want to take the overly aggressive play. Just so used to seeing people piling into the bottom lane and then instantly the call being the Baron.
We reset once again. KT still on the back foot. Like we mentioned, the Infernal Drake not enough to really change the texture of game number 3, and for Hanwha Life to pull off our first big upset. Yes, Dumb1 beating Genji was on the upset scale, but Hanwha Life upsetting KT, our reigning champions, would be on another level. Sangi continues to push in mid lane, and it's Ash Kench. It may not be Ezreal, but you know that it's pretty safe to make pushing plays like this.
Especially when they've got a lot of pretty beefed up members just behind them here, as well as Tal. Just waiting for that train to make its way back off cooldown. Does have it right now. So can actually get his way in there. No vision available this time around. Blue Trinket has been put down. It's pretty dark on the map here for KT Rolster. They're sticking together, trying to make sure that they can have options, but the Q is going to land. Decimating Smash so close to knocking score up and starting off a battle.
Infernal Drake spawned as well, so bot side control of this picture is very important for the easy objective in the Infernal Drake. Hanwha Life would like an answering run. Remember that the first stack of Infernal Drake gives you a fat stack of AD and AP, even more than before, so just matching what KT had put would cement the gold lead at truly being 4,000 right now. Not so much. Here we go.
Yep, trying to get in there. The quickness is down as Key does have the Devour. Sangu gets himself to a safe position. Featherstorm saves Zenit this time, but he's still going to get Decimating Smash. And Tal now trying to get his way out of the fight. Nice double stun to come in here as scored, keeping himself alive. Arrow lands onto Smeb in the backline, but the equalizer didn't do enough work here as Bono trying some tricky stuff, and BDD putting his way into the front, gets a decent taunt. There are the stopwatches now as Bono slinks away but isn't able to survive this fight. The health bars are so low, but somehow it's just a 1-for-1 in the end. Smeb will die, meaning that Hanwha Life do manage to take the team fight, but damn, it was close.
A really intricate team fight between Hanwha Life and KT Rolster, but Sangyun being freer to auto, not even having to flash in that fight, was very important when it came to total damage put out on each side. The Infernal Drake had to be turned off for a second time, but this time Hanwha Life will be able to claim it. Let's watch the replay here. It was a very long extended fight. I like the equalizer because of the likelihood of kiting up as Sangyun, but it's down from now, and so many tools are down until Bono decides that they're going to re-engage. This fight went double the duration than we really expected.
You're exactly right. That means that the Infernal Drake will go now over to Hanwha Life Esports, able to duo that one down very easily, meaning 3 dragons to the one that KT were able to steal away. Hysteric's Gauge picked up by Score. But otherwise, I'm looking at these items and wondering what the next breakpoint is going to be. Maybe it's Zenit picking up something like an Infinity Edge, trying to keep that stopwatch there unused for that time. But look at this, Sangyun free hitting on the backline, and have a look at that flash button. That is still off cooldown, even though he was engaged on to begin with. Key had the Tahm Kench, was able to stop any pick CC from coming in.
And that's what I zeroed on in that team fight, is the fact that he leaves the team fight with Flash, and very clearly the numbers there passed the eye test that Songyun was much more of a factor than Zenit could be. Zenit himself, you were looking over the stats. In the one game he played in Kesper Cup, it was a 4-0-5 scoreline, but a very low damage share. It was very much the top side of the map did top side things, and Zenit cleaned up, but not to a great extent in terms of numbers. Needs to really be on point with some damage, and definitely doesn't have the items to make it easy, as turret dive being attempted.
Yeah, but that's going to be a lot of damage actually tanked up here from Lava. They decide that they don't want to make this decision. Quickness going to be utilized, but immediately the kick is going to come down to disengage. A little bit of a blunder there from Hanwha Life as Score just pokes Bono on his way out. They do have a little bit of leeway to make plays like this that are a little bit more unorthodox. However, more of those you throw at KT, the more they're going to not let that one happening, as we've got some drifting now.
Yeah.
As the Scion just going to stop it early. Zenit not going to get hit by that one.
Almost about to give him the S+, but unfortunately messed up on the final turn. Sorry about that.
Not quite
Part-time, not going to be so good, nope. Don't know if he's going to get a ghost in Mario Kart for that one.
No.
We back away from here, and again, this is another point where you have to remember the nameplates mean less than ever before. And I'm not talking about legacies here. I'm talking about the fact that KT, in summer season, some of their fightbacks, even when the team comps didn't seem to suit them, were insane, Atlas.
Oh, yeah.
Yukal making amazing plays on Azir and things like that. Those names are
Deft
gone.
late game fighting on the lethality Varus as well and winning a game.
We don't know what KT are in the late game anymore. KT is not the same adage of before.
Exactly.
The memes sometimes check out, but they won't rubber stamp every time. So we're waiting to see some of these newer KT members, how they will, backs against the wall, perform in what could just be a one-team fight to rule them all in this first best of three.
Well, Zenit at the moment was sort of baiting, trying to get everyone in there. It has worked before as Bono. He's going to show up. Q not going to land. As Zenit is trying real hard to convince them that he is a juicy target. Score doing the same thing, but KT not going to find anything there. Bottom lane moving from the top side. This wave is continuing to push forward, and Songyun going to go back and just mop that one up.
You'll notice the map state, if you're focusing on the mini-map here, is a lot better for KT than you might think it should be with how the game has gone. There's actually no control around Baron. There's Baron vision, but no exclusive control top side for the side of Hanwha Life, and it should be Hanwha Life being the bully, saying, this is what I want, I'm going to get it, because we're stronger and have a lot of ranged engage. There's a lot of reliability and walking up, sweeping, and basically every member. Remember, Smeb can't walk up. He's not a top lane tank, he's a Rumble, and has to be afraid of things like the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. So Hanwha Life, finally, as we mentioned it, they'll get some control top side, but every extra minute, KT gets away with not being in melee range of the Baron, and the Baron not being under threat, gets items onto Azaya, who's been behind the pace the entire game, and yet has item parity with the Ashe for now.
Yeah, now has that Infinity Edge completed. That was a very recent back, but certainly something that we need to talk about, because QSS on top of it, as well as having that stopwatch, means that Zenit will be able to get DPS off in these team fights and will be able to contribute to the CC. Now a little bit more for an extra 0.25 seconds with that Blade Caller in this current patch.
Very interesting choice here from Songyun. The extra no magic mantle, I would assume, onto Hexdrinker, maybe a more Malmortius. This suggests to me that he wants to min-max his damage like he did in the last fight. As he wants to sit in an equalizer, he wants to sit in, say, a taunt, not die, and be able to hurricane auto like Prey was famous for flashing aggressively to do. He doesn't want to sacrifice his positioning against a Rumble, and Rumble used to be a teamfight counter to, say, a Jhin, for example, because Jhin would ult, Rumble just ults on top of the curtain call, and then you have to move away. Speaking of Ashe.
Yeah, Score is going to find the ultimate onto him, but Devour now on cooldown for a very long time, remember, guys, but still able to just play safe. Songyun not going to be able to step as far forward, but that is the only punishment they're going to get as the split push is going to continue. Magi Soul Stealer picked up by Lava, who's now towards the top side.
And that is the ultimate. Hanwha Life wins the next team fight. He's got 20 stacks. They've got a Baron. The game's probably over. It's a win more choice, and they're really close to winning, so you can kind of look at it and say, calculate it.
Yeah, once you're winning, what do you do after that? You win more, I guess, so you can't really say no to it, and he's just going to split push to winning more. They've decided that they don't want to answer, as this Mountain Drake is what KT are going to get. As Snowflower, Battle Dance available. I don't know what's going to happen here, as we've got the fight continuing. The teleport to come down. Score grabs the dragon, but can they win the fight? Equalizer does basically nothing. Exactly right. Another arrow comes in. Bono has done his work and been able to get out, as well as BDD. Cannot quite say the same. Yeah, trying to flash for the AoE is definitely enough. KT still trying to do more, but they can't do it against Hanwha Hanwha Life, who whitewashed KT Rolster.
And they're going to win. The flash there, aggressively prey style, is pulled off, and Hanwha Life will upset KT Rolster in their attempt to defend their crown. They will lose their first series in Lowell Park.
Yeah, Hanwha Life Esports, after what was such a disappointing Kesper Cup, such a disappointing Game 1, turn it all around on a dime. Game 2 looked beautiful, and Game 3, all control from Hanwha, who upset our LCK champions and take Game 1.
Hanwha Life Esports out-teamfight KT Rolster in the clutch, Atlas.
Yep.
Something you would never expect in 2018 happens in 2019. The fans either dumbfounded or in ecstasy compared on whether you're a KT or a Hanwha Life fan. A squad that was considered to be in the bottom 3 has just upset KT. Does that mean Hanwha Life is a contender, or does that mean that KT are very off the pace of the top 6? We don't know the answer just yet, Atlas, but we dare to dream that it could be a more competitive 2019 LCK spring for both these teams.
I'm just so happy that Hanwha Life have found a way to turn it around. They take a well-deserved bow here, and their first game, their Game 1 here in the LCK, it was looking rough. The match in the end going to be a victory. Really nicely done for these guys, and sticking with the same roster the entire way through. No Mugen to come in, no Sohan towards the top side, and thank goodness for that. I mean, Bono had a great performance on the Lee Sin in the final game, and an MVP performance on the Olaf earlier on, and Tal, his Scion was beautiful, starting off the bottom lane really nicely, teleporting top, and then able to get all of these unstoppable onslaughts exactly where he needed to finish this one out.
And on a macro level, as you're alluding to, vindication for Hanwha Life fans and the Hanwha Life coaching staff and the playing lineup for not adjusting it. But even on the micro level, it feels even better for me, Atlas, because they earned the win. They out-team fought KT at the end, even though both sides had some great team fight options. That flash in from Sangyun was the icing on the cake of a huge Hanwha Life win. And that's the great part. The coaching staff, the trust in them, that worked. The players also performed. They come away with a famous victory, and now the doubt begins for KT Rolster.
Yeah, exactly. How bad is the roster change? Because we saw in Game 1, if you rewind the tape, I know we've got recency bias affecting us a lot right now, but game number 1, that was classic vintage KT Rolster. They can still do it, but draft questions that we had last year still plaguing them just a little bit. And that last game was the clutch situation happened. Smeb's Rumble was called upon. They weren't able to come away with the win.
Does it have to be topside decimation, or otherwise KT lose more often than they win? Maybe the answer to that question is yes. And while that's not a death knell in them when it comes to finishing in a respectable position, maybe that's already a death knell in them competing for top 3, competing for championships. KT Rolster, one of the most famous Korean esports org across games, a StarCraft legendary org, into a League of Legends legendary org. Are they off the pace, Atlas, is a question we already have to raise on the second day of LCK Spring 2019.
Yeah, remember, Game 1 has always been a rough one for a lot of our professional teams. Now, have the highlights to show you exactly how this one went right for Hanwha Life Esports.
And there was a lot of them, Atlas. This was a really fun second game, but the clutch moments were moments like this, where they rolled in with Tal, got the wombo engage, and that was the start of a glorious third game for Hanwha Life. After we wrap this up, we will, of course, have some interviews. And then we have an excellent second match, guys. If you guys are wondering, looking for a bit of a break now, we'll have a bit of a break because we will be starting off schedule, but a bit after 8 p.m., we're going to get the debut of LCK Spring 2019 favorites Griffin as they face Kingzone Dragon X. So no KT for Deft Insurance in this first series. We will see Deft's LCK debut in our second series of the day.
Yeah, Deft a little bit staggered so far today, but we'll be able to see whether they can actually withstand what is the powerhouse Griffin demonstrated, at least in the Kesper Cup. These teamfights were so nicely done from Hanwha. Still some moments for KT where they were able to get the work done, but
this was the very extended second last fight where Bono might have baited his team, but actually ended up being able to fight out to a pretty even trade. I think it was 2-for-1 overall. The last fight, though, that was the Craigasm one. Hopefully we're going to have enough time to roll that replay. So many almost moments, so many what-ifs on both sides. Here is that final replay. Watch specifically Sangyun. As the fight is starting, he's engaged on, right? But the equalizer misses. He's able to flash out of it. Doesn't stop him like they did in the previous fight. And watch when he chooses to flash in. He sees KT comes up and says, I'm flashing in, baby, with my Hurricane running. everyone falls to the free farmed Ashe, and that's all she wrote for KT Rolster.
That was almost a triple kill with just a volley there as well. As you thought that he was just going to go after BDD, just go the front to back style. Doesn't do that. This is going to be the damage graph for you. Still, some large numbers for Smeb. His rumble is fantastic, but can't hold a candle to the way Hanwha Life were able to navigate the team fights in the late game.
Fun series. Maybe not for KT fans, but I think for neutrals here, you saw the best of what KT could be in game number 1. Hanwha Life showing they're not just going to be walkovers in game 2, and a very competitive game 3 where Hanwha Life walks away, heads held high. This wasn't a KT choke. This was Hanwha Life being better in the clutch than KT Rolster. Again, not a sentence we thought we might say. Maybe at any point, there has to be a loser in the side of every series, but also when it comes to teams around the relegation spots. And while no one is going to foresee that for KT, you were going to be very vindicated in predicting that for Hanwha Life in most scenarios, not in today's reality. And I just want to hear from the Hanwha Life players, as I'm sure everyone's eating a bit of humble pie and saying, hey guys, we counted you out. Suddenly, you're showing that there should be some faith that Hanwha Life can still eke out victories from teams that on paper you would think they should be beaten.
Yeah, it can be a little bit of a worry, but I'm just waiting for Tal to get delivered his MVP, because I think he was absolutely fantastic in that game. But honorable mentions, I mean, who would you throw the MVP to?
I think Sang-Yoon played the fights as Ashe, which we know is very tricky. Really, really well. Honestly, everyone looked really good in that game, so I think there's no name I'm going to throw my hat at, and it's going to be 1-0-11, no deaths frontlining is Tal on the Scion. Jumps over to Hanwha Life, he finds a victory. Moving over from SK Telecom T1, and while he doesn't even have his pal Mujin, he looked at home on Hanwha Life.
He did. So still some potential level up opportunities. This was a really nice drift to secure that fantastic trader kills. They were able to pick up there early, and it just continued. He was just stopping at all the right stations, Papa, making these team fights look so nice for Hanwha Life. And I feel like this was really the death knell. This was the moment where Hanwha said, we have control, we will take you down, because it's him in the front line and Sang-Yoon in the back line just free hitting over and over again.
And this was the moment also where KT fans look at the calendar and say, 2018 feels like a while ago already. And that's the scary part. You don't want to hit the panic button too early. But a lot of people, based on the roster changes, you know, Hand was adjacent to, Ajar to the panic button. Losing to Hanwha Life Esports and an earned victory for Hanwha Life rather than a KT throw or anything like that. Your Hand's getting closer. There's still 17 best of threes to play, but do they have the cavalry? Do they have the roster to contend? SK Telecom were a roster that won every time, made some changes in 2018, and then they were off the boil. KT Rolster could follow in that, their Telecom brethren, and do a 2018 impersonation if things don't turn around fast.
Well, I mean, power rankings are always very difficult at the beginning of this season. Remember, at the beginning, I think, of spring 2018, I was saying that Kongdu Monster were good, so crazier things can happen. But guys, now we have finally the MVP in team. So take it away, Jisoo.
Thank you very much. This is Jason back with today's interview translation, and we're going to join by Bono and Tal from Hanwha Life Esports. So, congratulations on your victory today. How do you feel?
승을 거둬서 되게 기쁘고요.
I'm really happy to pick up my first victory at LCK.
이겨서 되게 좋습니다.
I'm really happy.
저희 팀이 일단
Our team, you know, we had a rough start.
첫 스타트가 안 좋으면 어떠나 했는데
So I
이겨서
was
진짜
kind of worried about having a bad start at LCK too, but I'm really happy right now.
이번 캐스파컵 때도 그렇고 계속해서 보노 선수가 선발로 출전을 하고
Bono,
있으세요.
you are the starting
연습 때
jungler
조금
for Hanwha Life
컨디션 좋으신가요?
Esports. Are you
연습
performing better
때는
at
좀
practice
괜찮은데
games?
제가 전부터 대회에
Yeah, I think I'm
나오면은
doing
좀
well on
많이
practice games, but
긴장하는지
especially
좋은
on
모습을 못
stages,
보여드려서
I'm kind of
이번에도 좀 많이
underperforming. So
걱정하셨는데
I was actually a
그래도
little bit
오늘 승리하게
worried,
되어서
but
되게
I'm really happy
기쁩니다.
that we pick up the win.
네, 두 번째 경기에서 올라프를 잡고 세 번째 경기에서
Game two, you
밴을
played
당할
Olaf.
정도로
네.
그야말로
KT Rolster
인정을
banned it out
받으셨어요.
from you.
올라프를 픽하게 된 이유가 있으신가요?
Why did you pick Olaf for game 2?
다른 팀들은 별로 많이 안 쓰는 것 같은데
Well, it
저희
seems like
팀은
other teams are not
좋다고
preferring
생각해서
Olaf,
계속
but our
연습
team
때부터 쓰고 있었거든요.
kind of
그래서
rates Olaf really
언제든지
high.
꺼낼 준비하고 있었고
We
오늘이
are always ready to
적당하다고
lock it
생각해서
in,
꺼내게
and today was the
됐습니다.
right time.
네, 초반부터 상당히 공격적으로 플레이하셨는데
Very
그럼에도
aggressive
불구하고
play on Olaf,
랜디스예요.
but you
비결이
did
있으신가요?
not die not one single time.
라인들이 다 주도권이 있어서
All of our
좀
laners
제가
were
그거
having a
믿고
lot of
팀원
priorities,
믿고
so
플레이해서
I was
잘 서로
believing in my
도와주면서 해서 안
teammates.
죽은 것 같아요.
네, 알겠습니다. 또 세 번째 경기에서 활약하신
moving
트라이
on to game
선수.
three.
첫
Wow.
경기 때는 사이온이 미드로 가면서
Well,
사이온을 선택을 하지
Sion was on
못하셨는데
mid
두
lane
번째,
in
세
the
번째
first
경기는 사이온으로 좋은 경기
But game 2
보여주셨어요.
and 3, you
어떤
played
피드백이
really
있었던
well
건가요?
첫
on
경기에
Sion. What
저희가
kind of
원래
feedback went back and forth?
하려고 했던 거를 좀 변형해서 해서 저희가 많이
Well, for game 1, I think we were trying something new, but it wasn't really going well. But game 2 and 3, I think we just stick to our original plan and we were able to get the
를 타고
best
바텀으로
results.
와서 돌진하는 모습이 정말 인상적이었습니다.
So-
이때 어떤 콜이 오갔나요?
What kind of shot call went back and forth when you used the
저희 바텀 듀오 형님들이
when you use teleport in the
와드를
early
잘
game?
박아주셔서 저는 텔탄
Well, we have so many vision in the beginning of the game,
설계를
so
잘해주신 것 같아요,
we
저희
planned it
팀원들이.
all.
네, 사실 중간에 용을 한번 뺏기면서 기세가 꺾이지
Well, but
않나
actually
걱정을 하기도
Cater
했는데
Rolster stole
팀원들끼리는
Dragon
그런
once.
생각 없었던 거죠?
So
네네.
were you guys all okay?
저희 팀원들 아무리 손해를 봐도 더 다독여주고
Yeah, even though sometimes our opponent can out-trade, but we just try to cheer up
네,
as much as
따뜻한
possible.
하나생명입니다. 오늘 하나생명 관계자분들도 관전으로
And
오셨어요.
I heard a
네.
lot of
도움이 좀
people from
되신 것
Hana Life
같아요?
Esports actually came to support you guys.
저희 팀이 제일
From your
치질인가
company.
봐요. 그냥 다
I think our
부담이 될 만도
players
한데 더
are
잘해줘서
doing
팀원들,
so well on
팀원
stage.
형님들이
This can be a little bit of pressure, but we
보여주셨습니다.
performed
네,
really
앞으로도
well.
좋은 모습 보여주시길 바라겠고요. 마지막으로 각오 한 말씀
So lastly,
부탁드립니다.
is there any message you want to add
이번
on?
시즌 이게 첫 승을 거뒀는데
So
이
this
기세
is the
계속
first victory
이어나가서
for our team.
계속 이겨서
I'm gonna do
콘텐츠
my
시즌
best to
꼭
keep this
진출하고
performance
싶고
consistently
그리고
and
응원해주신
make it
팬들이랑
to the
그리고
postseason.
믿고 내보내주신
And
감독이랑
I'm really thankful for all the
코치님들에게
fans and also all the
감사하다고
coaching staff that let
팀원들이랑
me play as a starting member.
알겠습니다. TR 선수는요?
네, 저도 똑같은 얘기긴 한데 이번 연도 스프링
Yeah,
잘해서
same message on me too.
플레이오프 시즌 갈 수 있게
I really want to
열심히
make it to the
하겠습니다.
playoffs, so I'm gonna
파이팅
keep up
하시길
with this hard
바라고요.
work.
하나생명의 보노 선수, TR 선수
So
만나봤습니다.
this will be the end of the interview with Bono and Talk from Hana Life Esports. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ji-sun. And welcome back to the caster desk, guys. Great to hear from the two Hanwha Life players. And a lot of you were expecting a KT interview right there to explain what had happened over at Kesper Cup, things like that. But that is not what happened. A well-deserved interview for those two from Hanwha Life.
And that's the thing about Hanwha Life. They made those roster changes that a lot of people looked at and seemed like side grades at best, right?
Yeah.
And if you lose, the interview is, why'd you do it? But if you win, you don't have to explain anything. Your results do the explaining for you. And Hanwha Life showed a lot of grit and determination. This is a team that's known for practicing, just like the FLICKR Freaks, you know, really grinding the internal scrims. Famously, they have a 15-man roster. I think they want more than a 15-man roster. They're very much about development and trying to find those unseen talents, and Bono was certainly one that leapt off the page in this game compared to our expectation from his BBQ Oliver's misfires. We don't know if they're diamonds in the rough just yet, but Hanwha Life should feel so happy. So much pressure has been alleviated from them, and it's just the first series. It's just a feel-good moment. They will play again this week. They will get more time on the Rift, but great victory from them, and now we're just going to have to wait for a short break and then Griffin versus Kingzone, and I'm ready to see the Griffin hype train leave the first station later in the day.
Well, we'll see whether that is going to happen or whether Kingzone are going to be able to stop them, because Kingzone had a rough time at Kesper. They really want to redeem themselves and find some more. But guys, that'll be after a very short break. We're back for our second season of the night, so don't go anywhere.